Welcome to the Maria Sanchez Show and the Meet the Candidates segment that we're doing with everybody who's running for office in the county of Ventura. And for that reason, we have in studio Tim Flynn. Tim is running for the Oxnard City Council. And Tim, welcome to the program. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Tell us about your legacy in terms of what it is that you have with Ventura County and specifically the city of Oxnard.
Well, actually, I was just thinking about that on the way over here, Maria, that my family came to Ventura County in 1927, and they actually settled on the avenue because of oil. My grandfather was a worker for Shell Oil. And so actually the roots of our family began right here in Ventura, in fact, right around the corner. And then eventually my family went back to Santa Barbara County, where I was born, and my parents were also married. And then in 1961, my family moved to Oxnard because my dad got a teaching job, actually, I think in either Oxnard or Ventura initially. And the salary, believe it or not, was $1,000 more in Oxnard than it was in Santa Barbara. So it was a hefty $3,000 in Santa Barbara and $4,000 in Oxnard. So that's how we ended up in Oxnard in 1961.
Which I love stories like that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you're basically a homegrown boy.
Yeah, I was born in Santa Barbara. However, I've lived the vast majority of my life in Oxnard, but I have lived extensively outside of the city of Oxnard. And in fact, I think that experience of living in other cities has given me a lot of ideas about what I like to see for the city of Oxnard.
Now, what is your profession by trade?
I'm a teacher. I have taught social science and German for 18 years. Now I teach government and economics, and I taught German at Camera High School, currently at Pacifica High School in Oxnard, and I've also taught political science at Oxnard College for the last 13 years.
Now, for our viewers who might not know, your father was also involved with the city extensively.
Well, specifically the county, although he represented a good portion of Oxnard throughout his career on the Ventura County Board of Supervisors. He was first elected in 1972. That's when I really got a lot of experience at political campaigns, and we were asked to walk precincts and deliver brochures. And as a 12-year-old at the time, the enticement was a hamburger, french fries, and a milkshake. And believe it or not, they could get a full day's labor out of us just for that promise at the end of the day. So it was very exciting. I remember the day my dad walked across the street, and I asked him, "Dad, where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to go file." And in our family, just because we had such an interest in politics, it was obvious to me what he was going to do.
So walking precincts at the age of 12,
Yeah.
were you intimidated, scared? Was it just like how many checks you could make on your list?
Well, it wasn't that sophisticated at the time. You know, the brochures, I remember I saved many of them. They were, you know, just one step above a photocopy. And we walked in crews, and so that made it a lot easier to do. And one of the early organizers who now works for the county of Ventura, Gerard Kapusik, he was the one who kind of led us around, which is quite interesting. Again, he had to keep reminding us all the time, look guys, you know, when we're famished and barely getting through the end of the day, you know, that hamburger and french fries is really going to taste good, isn't it? And that was the way he got us through it. But that was really my first experience at door-to-door interaction with voters. Now at that time, I wasn't knocking on doors. We were really dropping off literature. But later on, I would walk with my dad, and that's where I really got the experience, when he would knock on the door and seeing how he would interact with the voters.
Mm-hmm. So fast forward, John Flynn, now Tim Flynn.
Yeah.
Why are you running?
Well, I have a great passion for the city of Oxnard. I've actually, in reference to my previous statements about living, or my family coming from Ventura, I've actually lived in Ventura for some time also. And so I've just, out of all the places I've lived, I've always come back to Oxnard no matter where I've gone, what I've done. And I think that I feel most deeply rooted in the city of Oxnard. And there's a love that I think a person develops for a city or a place that they're from that they can't dispel, they can't purge themselves of it. And I've just always felt a great passion for the city. So the reason why I'm running for the city council is I believe there are a lot of issues that have not been the main focus or primary focus of the current and past councils. And so quality of life in particular, and that really is, when it really comes down to it, it's about quality of life in the city of Oxnard, why I'm running.
And how does one, I mean, that's an ephemeral statement that you've just made. And how do you judge what the quality of life is now and what you want it to be?
Well, I mean, I can be accused of being very nostalgic. When I was raised in Oxnard in the early 1960s, it was a community that was a very healthy community. It was, obviously rich with farmland, and it was more of a, what do you want to say? It was truly an agricultural town, at that point. And the quality of life was very good. I mean, the amount of park space, the beaches, just the people I grew up with, the way neighborhoods looked, it was really pristine. It was a really great place, and it still is today. But the city has changed, and it's evolved from maybe a city of 20 or 30,000 people when I first, as I first remember, to a town now that probably unofficially is about 225,000. And so it has a whole new set of challenges and issues that did not really exist when I was a kid growing up. And it's in part for that reason too that I really want to get into this again, and I want to do some good for the city.
And what can one person do in a tenure, if you will, and what would you like to do?
Well, one of the things I found out in the 4 years I was on the city council from 2004 to 2008 is that initially one person can actually do a lot, but if what you're doing is not viewed by your colleagues as either collegial or in the best interest of what they see for the city, then it does make it very difficult to get things done. And so I think one person can make a difference, but it is important that you have to build coalitions, you have to build majorities, and I think on many issues I was able to do that when I was on the city council, and there were many other issues where perhaps my viewpoints were in stark contrast to those that I served with on the council. And so that sometimes makes it difficult, but at the end of the day, I'm the kind of guy that remembers when I worked in Washington, when Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, at the end of the day, on especially St. Patrick's Day, here were two guys that just absolutely hated each other's guts when it came to politics. But at the end of the day, these two men could sit down and have a drink with each other, and I think that's what it's all about in politics, not taking it personally.
So what is the takeaway for our viewers? Do you have 3 concrete plans, 3 things that you'd like to accomplish?
In fact, I was wondering if you read my brochure, because it's exactly 3 that I have. So first and foremost, we have a problem with unemployment in the city of Oxnard. 15% of the people are currently unemployed. And one of the problems, I think, in the city is that when too many jobs are lower paying jobs, whether that's in agriculture or it's in retail jobs, they don't pay a lot. And my goal is to bring higher paying jobs to the city. So I have a great idea on how to bring high-tech and biotech companies to the city of Oxnard. And that in large part too would involve a new regional airport, which I think is long overdue at Point Mugu. It would be a joint use agreement with the Navy. And I have enough experience, I think, at working in Washington, D.C. and with national politics to try to see if we can't accomplish that or spearhead an effort where many people are part of that. I also think with a new round of base closures that people are constantly talking about, I actually think it would be something that would avoid a base closure and even the talk of it, because the money that would be generated from that airport, I think, would offset a lot of the cost of the military.
And the partnership with the city.
And the partnership with the city, and I think it's very important. And I think that new transportation hub, Ventura County right now has one airport, one Ventura County airport. It used to have United Airlines going in there 2 or 3 times a day. United is no longer flying in there. I hope that's temporary just because of the recession. But for the most part, I think a new airport would really facilitate those types of companies coming to the city of Oxnard and providing those higher paying jobs. So that's really the first part of it. The second part of it has a lot to do with what people have read in the papers about the FBI and the DA investigating the city. I want to open up city government. I want it to be more transparent. And in particular, I think that the lack of transparency in our government might have a lot to do with special interests that I think, that I said not long ago, have clogged the arteries of the democratic system in the city. And I'd like to very much make sure that special interests are not the ones that see their way all the time, even though special interests have a right to do that, but it's the people's interests that I want to promote, and you can only really do that when you really have a transparent government. And finally, a platform that I ran on in 2004 that was not received very well by my colleagues is a way to uplift the neglected neighborhoods in the city. I went to school with a lot of people in Oxnard that no longer live in Oxnard, in my opinion, because of the condition of many of those neighborhoods. They moved to communities like Ventura and Camarillo to probably because they're nostalgic and they wanted to have in Camarillo and Ventura what they grew up with. I'd like to restore that in the city, even though we have many nice-looking neighborhoods. So those are really the three reasons why I'm running.
And what's your challenge like in terms of your opponents? And
well, I mean, it's anytime you run against incumbents, it's very challenging, and there's also a challenger, a woman who is an attorney. Her name is Carmen Ramirez. She is a very viable candidate. She's running a very viable candidacy. She came very close to winning a seat on the city council 2 years ago. And so running against two incumbents and a challenger who has a proven track record is not an insurmountable task, but it is very daunting. It's very challenging. But I love it. I might love campaigning for a position just as much as policy making, but it is truly very exciting to do.
And thank you for that, because
Thank you.
It's not easy. We
Yeah,
know.
you're right. You get a lot of doors slammed on you,
Yeah.
but once you get over it, I saw that happen with my dad. You know, it's just become second nature that people are going to do that every once in a while.
And Tim Flynn is our guest, and why don't you quick share contact information, and we'll put it on the screen too.
Okay, great. If anyone is interested in either donating to my campaign or volunteering, my website is timflynnforcouncil.com. My telephone number is area code 805-340-1922, and I'd invite anyone to volunteer from anywhere in the county. So.
Oh, nice. That's a good invitation.
Thank you.
So Tim Flynn is running for the City of Oxnard City Council as a challenger, and we open this invitation to any of the other candidates to come join us in studio. Thank you so much for watching the Maria Sanchez Show, Meet the Candidates.